Good morning. The next part of the project is doing my ballasting. What I know about ballasting can be written on the head of a pin, but I'll share with you what I know. Don't use too much. Keep it away from your points, otherwise they're not going to work afterwards. Just use the bare minimum for effect. And don't use too much glue. I saw a guy on YouTube who was doing it with 00 gauge, and he was splashing PVA and water everywhere by the gallon. So I copied him, and when I did that, what it did was the glue seeped into all of my fish plates and I had dead track. And I've used too much ballast on my points before, and then you couldn't make the damn things move. My ballast mix, 2 big tubs of, one is fine grey and one is fine brown, and it looks a bit like that. If I dig around a bit, mix it up a bit, you can see the brown coming through. So I'm going to give this a bit of a mix, but not too much of a mix. I want different shades as I go around. So there's a reasonable mix without it being perfectly mixed. I think that'll be enough, don't you? I got 2 little packets in one of my job lots. They'll come in handy for doing something else on the layout later. Spoon for dishing it out. 1/2 inch brush for spreading it out. A spray gun with water and some washing up liquid. That just helps break the surface tension. And then my glue. Now I'm not going to make up my own stuff. I'm using Ballast Bond. It's only a small bottle. Costs about £7.95. It's got a very, very fine sort of pipette dispenser, and it goes a long way. So essentially what I will do is I'll go in the middle of the track, run it up the middle very quickly, and then run it up each outside edge. Going to do this in various stages. So today we're going from the tunnel entrances coming out of the fiddle yard, and we're going all the way up there to the tunnel entrances going into the actual tunnel. I'll try and show you what I do. I got my phone on my short tripod. Let's see if that will actually turn into a video. See you in a minute. Well, obviously the first part of the job is to get some ballast on the track. So what I do is I run it down the centre line. Just take a spoonful at a time and just ease it out. Now when I get to the point where the moving parts are, I am more careful. And then it's a 1/2 inch brush, and it's straight down the middle. And what happens is the excess that you've put on will spill over left and right and give you your shoulders. So when I get to the moving parts of the points, I don't really want any ballast in that at all. So the few odd bits that I do get in there should fall through and be out of the way of how it's all working. And this is a game of patience, of going over and over and over and stretching this ballast out as far as you can and getting rid of the excess by just simply moving it down the line. You can give it a tap as well. If you tap on top of the rails, it helps it settle. And it's just a matter of patience and time. don't know how much of this you want to see, but we'll keep going. Now as I go, what I will do is, if there isn't enough on the shoulder, then I'll take a very small amount on the spoon and just simply build up the shoulders. And again, get the stuff away from me moving parts. And we move on. Now you can see why I put the platforms in and glued them down at this stage, because now I know how to fill them up, what width I need with my ballasting. So as you can see, I'm filling up the centre of the track, and then it's just a question of brushing it out. I'm filling up to the edge of the platform, and because this is a dual track section with the run around, then you've got to fill up the bit in the middle. What I tend to do with this is I will brush the one track, I will brush the other track, and then brush down the middle and just ease the ballast along, and then I'll flatten it with my finger. Here we are, done all 3 tracks. There's a lot of loose bits and pieces over the place. Don't worry, they will hoover up later. Next stage is to wet it. Now I wet it from quite high, because if you do it close up, the blast of water just shifts the ballast. It blows it out of the way. I'll quite happily go over it twice, because I want the glue to be able to seep through everything. I don't want the top damp and what's underneath to be dry. That's when it doesn't stick, is when the underneath is dry. And then it's out with the ballast bond, and I run it down the middle, and then I run it down the shoulders. It looks like I'm using a lot, but it is such a fine dispenser, I'm not. And this little bottle will go an awful long way. Right, that's the first 12 feet done. Now you've got a few jobs to do after you've done that. First is to clean this out, run it under some warm water, and then sellotape it back onto the bottle. Otherwise you'll never find it again. I used quite a bit there because I want it to stick first time. Now that's going to take some considerable time to go off. So I can carry on round the layout all the way back to here in stages, you know, do it 8-10 feet at a time, whatever. Then once you're absolutely certain it's gone off, and as this is winter and it's cold, it's going to take some time longer than when I did it downstairs in the summer. So I'm going to leave it for a week, and then the next job is of course the hoover. So I'll go round and I can pick up all the loose ballast, and then I can do my patching, because some of it is going to come up and there's going to be some bare bits. Now that isn't perfect, not by a long, long way. I'm not a modeller for starters. I can barely see what on earth I'm doing for second. And it's an effect. I'm not trying to make historically accurate ballast. I'll tell you one thing I do like is that the brown and grey, because it's not perfectly mixed, it's coming out in bits which are lighter and bits which are darker. I quite like that. So I tell you what, I will do another video once I've completed all this, once it's all hoovered, and I don't know, what was I going to say? You tell me. Once all this has gone off and it's all hoovered and I've done my patching, then I'll come back and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do next. And it involves a Graham Farris truck with metal wheels. Cheerio.